Hey, Game of Thrones fans, it's Julian here, and I'm here to pitch you again, unfortunately, and I do apologize. We're really excited about the next Game of Thrones season, but it's still so far away. So, in the meantime, if you're itching to have your ears filled with some more Dan and Julian goodness, then I would suggest the Tower of Babel podcast, and that's a show that we do every single week, all year round. And, it's the end of the year, which means that we're going to be doing our best of 2016 show in the next couple of weeks, and of course we're going to be reviewing Star Wars Rogue One, and I thought that you guys might be interested in that. So, as a little bit of a teaser, an appetizer, if you will, I took this excerpt from our show last week, and I hope you enjoy it. We're talking about kind of the state of modern, or the traditional sitcom, I guess, in modern television. And we kind of talked, so we ended up talking about Friends a little bit, and then that moved into some other discussions that led into talking about the merits of reading a book versus listening to the audiobook version of it. It's a really great discussion, but it's only about 20-something minutes long, so it's easy, nice bite-sized little piece there. And if you do enjoy it, just check your show description inside the podcast feed for the one you're listening to, and it should have links right to the Tower of Babel podcast feed, so you can subscribe super easy. So if you're on your iPhone, for instance, there should be a link to the iTunes link, and that should just take you right in there, and you can subscribe, or Google Play, and on Android or Stitcher, or just the RSS feed if you prefer to do it yourself. And that's all in there, and it should be in the show description. And of course, you can find everything we do at towerofbabel.ca. And I really appreciate you guys' patience waiting for this next Game of Thrones season. But in the meantime, enjoy this, and I hope to see you over at the Tower of Babel podcast.
Oh, and I'm watching Friends.
What?
For some reason.
Why?
Yeah,
Jerry,
man.
no,
fuck
come
yeah.
on, no.
Fuck yeah. You want to talk Friends? Let's talk Friends.
No, but like for me, like I used to watch that show live when it was like on NBC or whatever.
Yeah, everyone did.
Like my parents were watching, and I'm like
Everyone
eating dinner.
did.
I'm like, I know all the jokes, all the
It's
stories.
so crazy how that happens, right?
It's so weird.
These shows like Futurama's like that for me too. Like you can pick any episode of Futurama, and I just I know it, and I know that it's not from Netflix.
Yeah.
I just watched it.
Half the time, I'm like, okay, Joey's gonna say this, and this is gonna happen. I'm like, wait. I was like in 1997. I'm just like the little stupid kid eating dinner, watching this show about 30-year-olds, and like it's about sex and like the stupid jobs they have.
Oh,
and
fuck.
now we're almost 30, which is like we're trying to make it in life with jobs, living in
We're the
apartments.
age they were in season 2, I believe.
Yeah.
Season
Season 3, 4, they're like 30. I think.
Yeah. Well, how's it work? I've also been watching Friends recently. That's how I know this.
Okay,
But
I'm on
in
season
season
4.
2, Rachel is 20, or season 3 she turns 28. I think it is.
Really?
Yeah.
So
It felt
yeah,
so old at
so
the
it's
time.
for me, like I have a history with TV show. I mean, most people do, but for me at this age now, it just kind of like surreal watching it and relating to the characters differently and seeing how which characters are funnier now. So now it's official. Chandler is the funniest character in the show.
Everyone knew that. That was never up for debate.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of like Ross has some crazy funny moments.
there's
just
absolutely.
just the way he acts is
Right.
just it's.
He's got that awkward.
He's very much a
Chandler's awkward too,
caricature.
actually.
Yeah. Like when he breaks up after the 18-page letter.
Like,
yeah, like that is the best. That could be the best like performance ever. Like, fine by me. Like it's just so good,
we were on a break.
Yeah. And then at first, Joey wasn't that funny to me anymore because it was very cheesy jokes.
Yeah, sure.
But if he's written properly, they just hit like perfectly.
Yeah.
With his chair.
Yeah.
That chair, every time that chair comes in, I'm always... But, okay, I don't want to talk about it.
So I'm just saying, I'm into that, so me and Dan might talk about it later on.
Okay, that's
because
fine.
You can talk about Rebels all you want, but...
No, honestly, the only reason I say that is because when I was living on the island, my friend Kelsey, she used to... The only show she would watch is Friends. She would finish the series and then start it over again. She didn't watch anything else. And I'm like... This in the entire world,
It's the perfect show.
But this is it. This is it. That's all there is to you. Is Friends through the end, and then we begin from start from the beginning. Let's go through it all again. And she would watch you, just leave it on all the time.
Yeah, I'm not
in the
about that.
background. And then she would she would fall asleep with it on, and she'd wake up, watch more of it, and I'm like, this is insane.
Okay. 2 of my 3 sisters were like that, so I didn't have a choice. Like I just know Friends, because I was around, I was alive at the time, but
I feel like I don't have I don't have a sitcom that I can relate. Friends is the closest thing, but even then, it's there's nothing that I feel is attached to, like, your sister is attached to Friends, or some people are attached to Seinfeld.
I would say
or
Community for me.
Or Cheers, maybe Community.
Do you see any similarities in Community and Friends at all, like anywhere there?
A little bit, but like Community is such an anomaly. It's a different show.
And that's
on purpose.
But
it
I
doesn't
think
fit
about that because
that.
when I'm watching Friends, it's like in a realistic way.
Yes.
But like they take jokes kind of a little bit too far, and it's like it wouldn't actually happen. Whereas in Community, it like takes that kind of concept, but it goes even further.
It does. Community exists in this weird sort of like it's not a real world.
Yeah,
but it's
like,
as realistic as it can be. But it's still like a heartwarming, like hopeful.
But it's also not the
happy
same.
world.
It's not also not the same format. Friends is like
it's
your
not
traditional sitcom, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's like apartment, coffee shop, like office.
Right,
It's like very simple, like easy sets.
Yeah, that's the
like
study
Community
room
kind of, right? It's like,
Right, like the one camera. It's the like what's the single camera
versus
single camera. Yeah, like, and that's basically what it is. And it did a lot. It did very well, and no one's the most successful, I think, sitcom. I want to say.
What, Friends?
Yeah.
Seinfeld probably.
It's hard to say.
I
But,
saw
like,
a
those
magazine
are those
cover that
two,
said
though.
Friends reunion too. By the way,
Yeah.
in the middle of me watching this, it said they had them all on the cover.
Yeah.
It said reunion probably. happened.
really?
How
Didn't know
crazy is that?
But like I talked about, like, my parents probably had Cheers or whatever.
Yeah. Cheers.
And
Fuck, I hated Cheers when I was growing up.
man,
It was
Really?
just like a little bit too old looking to me. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't understand whether like you're in a
Well, we were at the
danky
wrong age.
bar
Like,
all the time.
I didn't understand what was going on in Cheers. Like, what?
Yeah, because we're just a little too young. But
Yeah.
for a lot of people, it's like their favorite show ever. And like,
my grandparents loved MASH.
oh yeah, that's even older.
Sure, like, I don't know, and then like there's like Happy Days and
Yeah, like it's
All
but
in the
there's but
Family.
like so sitcoms
For
were
our
like
time.
were
Yeah.
this like this event, and it's different now. You're right. The TV's a different stage now. But what's the right the sitcom now is what Big Bang Theory, like
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
that's
But
the
that has
thing.
a lot of elements of Friends, though. It's like a
very
kind of rip off of
yeah,
it. Just a
well,
modern take
I mean,
on
it's
it.
not even a rip off. I would say it's just a like. It's just
Something,
the
like
new
apartments,
iteration.
the
of
two
that.
apartments.
Yeah, it's just an iteration of
Yeah.
that. Like it's like, well, what is Friends a rip off of Seinfeld? Seinfeld's the same idea. You're in an apartment.
Yeah, true.
There's you got
Well,
it's
Friends,
a
at the end of the day, it's actually about nothing as well, really.
Yeah.
Like every other episode, like Chandler decides to do this, and Joe, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
It's just a little bit
Well,
more
I
serious.
think it's pretty on the nose. It's about friendship, right?
Yeah.
Like it's about them being
At the
friends
end of the
through
day.
thick and thin, all that, blah blah blah.
Right.
But nothing. Like the point is, what Seinfeld meant when they say that it's a show about nothing. It's like nothing's happening, but they're still like they're interacting, and that's what's interesting and
Yeah.
entertaining is how these people talk to each other.
Well,
That's what I feel with Friends for the first 2 seasons. It feels
Absolutely,
like a
yeah.
Seinfeld. It just
Yeah.
feels like that to me.
I mean, and I guess I'm okay. I guess I'm never attached to a sitcom, and I think I'm okay with it. I
think you're not okay with it because you brought that up.
No,
and you're thinking about it.
I just
Actually, though,
I think I'm going to take a brave stance here, guys. I'm going to be okay.
I don't need a Friends or Cheers or a.
What do you mean need? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Well,
It's
there's
we
just a
need it
touchstone.
either. I
Like,
think
that's
it's just
for so many people.
this
It's
isn't
a
like a
touchstone.
cornerstone of my
yeah.
personality.
But how
like-
cool is it for us that we have a history with Friends, which is like kind of a first of its thing at the time? You know what I mean? Like,
I wouldn't say it's it's not though, because
It's
it's,
not,
just
but, like,
it was the next Seinfeld, in to some degree, right?
It was yeah. I guess they were kind of on at the same time. Too,
yeah,
in my
same
mind.
time. That's why.
But no, but Seinfeld's basically in reruns. That's like it's hard to tell because most of those episodes of Seinfeld that we can remember on television were mostly reruns at that time.
I'd have to look it up. I don't know what.
Either
They
way,
overlap to some degree, but not
for
by
some
much.
reason, our age group, like we talked about this show when we were kids, like teenagers or whatever, even younger.
younger.
Related somewhat to the characters. Like we all know their names, all 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then now that we're approaching 30, and it's just kind of weird to watch it now. It just
And like
it's just
really
very
relatable
strange,
too.
yeah.
It's stuff that you didn't really get when you were a kid. You probably do get now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Who's your least favorite character? You gotta be Phoebe,
Someone
right?
at work actually
No.
brought. No, that's the thing. Someone
No, fuck
someone,
Phoebe, man.
No, listen. Someone at work brought that up, and I'm like, why are you even bringing this up? And it's just 6 of them. It's 3 girls and 3 guys.
Yeah.
So you had to get rid of one, and like I knew he was gonna say Phoebe for some reason, so he did. And I was like, man, I don't know, man. Like now that I'm watching it again, she's like. Sometimes she's almost funnier than Chandler at some moments, man. Like she'll just say like the most randomest thing.
Phoebe and Chandler are like the wild cards.
Yeah.
Like
Chandler's consistently always funny.
Yeah.
And Phoebe is like just every now and then it's like holy
But
shit.
she's
that's
over the
funny.
top and she's goofy sometimes. She
Yeah.
doesn't have the appropriate reaction to things.
And I think if you were really to take one away,
That's like interesting thought experiment. I've never considered.
It depends on the season. It depends on the season. Yeah. So for season 1 and 2, you don't really need Monica. She's not funny.
No, you need Monica because she's friends with Rachel, and
that's the only thing. Yeah. But she's not funny though.
You probably get rid of Joey for the first couple seasons, and Monica later. Like I don't care about except Chandler and Monica get married.
You can't get rid. Yes, you can't get rid. You can't do that.
Yeah. But when you say Phoebe, it's like I think you're wrong.
You can't explain it. It's a sense I have.
And when you say this,
she's
feel
like the heart
wrong.
and soul of that group. It doesn't make sense to take her out of there.
I think people say that because she's the least connected. Like there's no romantic entanglements or anything.
She's the ultimate wild card.
Yeah, and she's the outsider too, right? And that's what her character was written to be.
I've never put this much thought into this show.
Neither have I. That's why I find it so interesting now. Like I'm watching the show too, and I'm looking at their apartments and like what they have in there.
Like how in the phone could they afford that apartment?
Like that doesn't happen anymore.
Well, no, that is true with every television show.
But they explain it away. Monica's grandmother.
Oh really?
Do they? Okay. Well, but that
and then I forgot the naked guy across the.
Ugly naked guy.
No, I didn't forget about him. But I always thought he was super far away. And then they do an episode where they think he's dead. And they put a bunch of chopsticks together and they poke him like across. They cross the way. Do you remember that episode?
I've never.
Or there's an episode where Ross goes to buy his apartment and then they end up doing like Ross gets naked with him in the apartment and they all.
Yeah. So weird. Man.
No, I don't remember that.
So that's what I'm watching. I'm determined to.
Okay, so
I'm determined.
So to answer your question,
I'm determined to keep. I'm gonna watch every like. If I'm watching it.
Man. Golden age of television, and you're gonna go rewatch fucking 90s sitcoms.
Again, it's a different mindset. I'm at a different point in my life. I watched it as like not even a spectator, like just like background noise. But I knew all the jokes and I laughed.
See, I resent the idea of putting on a show as just background noise.
I'm not saying I'm doing that. I'm saying originally when I was young, right? I didn't really pay attention too much to the storylines, but I knew about them. I wasn't driven to watch it all the time. But I didn't talk about my friends all the time.
I understand what you're saying.
But now that I'm their age and I have that experience with the show, I can watch it from front to back.
And it's a whole different experience.
Then, after that, I'm done with it. I'm not going to do background noise like your friend or anything with it. There's no way.
Yeah.
Maybe in 10 years.
I just never understood that mentality in the first place. Like, if you're not going to watch it, why even have it on?
Because some people like to chill and just go on their phone.
Then why have it on? Like I don't.
It's comforting to have noise around.
You can always tune into it every now and then. There's certain shows where you can just tune into it. Like you're on your phone, do whatever.
You feel less alone to have like white noise in the background.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's like you have like multiple screens going. Your phone, that like it's kind of crazy.
iPad, whatever.
I'm also not a big fan of it. I'm just like that's what.
I can understand. I to some degree understand it. I just I try when I'm watching a show to think about it and what's happening and
sure.
And there's very few shows I watch that are just. That I go through the motions. Sometimes I put on a CW superhero show and I go and it's just going through the motions. Sometimes
you tell me you don't look like you don't pick up your phone when you're watching Flash.
There is moments.
Shit's boring.
There is moments. There is absolutely moments. And that would be the closest. I had another show that I was thinking of, Buffy, although not a traditional sitcom. I said not really at all sitcom.
It's not a sitcom, yeah.
But that's a touchstone for me as far as like. Television at that time, and I'm glad I rewatched the entire series, though it took me like 3 years to do it. I don't like. Is there any like other show that you like think back to at that time from that time that is like a real, but not a cartoon or whatever, but just like a thoughtful show in the sense that it was.
Well, I recently it was a few months ago, right? Like I did do a Friends rewatch. I got to like season 7 and I.
That's insane. It's so long to get there, but
I don't know why.
I don't know. So we took in 22.
And I'm obsessed with like looking at the intro and like how it changes from season to season. Yeah. It's just so weird, man. It's just
so the other one I did that.
I could never say I'm obsessed with looking at it.
Well, I'm like excited because you watched like
Voyager. Interesting. Okay.
Voyager. Yeah.
That's because he was on after school.
Yeah, and I used to watch Voyager all the time. So those episodes, they're still like I remember
it
vaguely.
I haven't gone back.
I don't know. The first little bit is a little rough. I
only like the Next Generation. I can't do the other ones.
The thing about that is with Next Gen, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine is that they're all set in that same timeline, like time period.
Yeah.
Abouts, right?
Yeah, and they cross. Well, Voyager less so, but they have.
I mean, Delta Quadrant's pretty far away. Exactly.
I'm pretty sure. Picard talks to Janeway in one episode or something like that. Like I don't remember.
I'm sure they do. It's one of those things where I think Deep Space Nine has crossed over more.
Yeah, just because they're around.
It's one of those things where it's all set at the same time, so it has a similar feel to it. Although again, Voyager's newer than that.
Yes.
So it has a bit more modern touch to it. I don't know. I just haven't gone back. I wouldn't mind.
It's all on Netflix. It's all right there. It's at your fingertips.
Have you know what I did recently though? Watched the original animated Star Trek. You ever seen that?
No.
Oh man.
Holy shit.
So crazy. It's like crazy in the sense that like it is the most basic of animation. It's like what they're making. Have you ever I wish I could explain it. Have you ever seen the first season of the new Ninja Turtle show that I talked about a lot?
No.
Wait, what do you think the answer is?
Okay, but basically they're making fun of that. They watch a show, the Ninja Turtles in that show watch a show in that show that is basically making fun of the animated Star Trek. But it's the most basic animation like you can imagine, right? But you have the original voice cast, like the original cast doing all the voices. Oh. And so they're doing these stories that they couldn't do in live action because there's just no practical way of like showing it. So you're dealing with these like this life form it's not, you can't see it, but it passes through these different states of being, and it's like super psychedelic and weird, right?
Okay.
And like there's just something you could never do like on like with what they had available in live action.
Yeah.
But they were still thoughtful in the same way. Like they put thought into how it affected each character and the allegory, because they're always allegories, right? So it's terrible but great at the same time.
That's crazy.
So we're watching Battlefront. This is the Rogue One DLC. This planet, so cool, has a shield around the entire planet. And that's like, there's only like a few ways in, but that's one of them. It's pretty cool, actually. And so like where they're safeguarding a lot of Imperial secrets. It's on that planet.
That's the way to do it.
Scarif, I think is what it's called. Did you also know that there is multiple classes? I know that you know there's Star Destroyers and Super Star Destroyers, but did you know that there's multiple classes of Star Destroyers?
I did not.
And they come in different sizes. So like the original Republic, remember like during the Republic days, they had those Star Destroyer-esque.
Yeah.
Like
Star Destroyer Light.
Yeah, that's basically what they were.
Yeah.
And so like in the first days of the Empire, their Star Destroyers are very much like that, those original style. But they got bigger and bigger and bigger as the war machine needed to keep being fed, until you ended up with Super Star Destroyers in. Only in the third one, in the sixth.
Sixth, yeah. That's the only
They're so big too. And you think about it like, is there like a regular Star Destroyer like crash into it? The
logistics of that are ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, they got to be built in space, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to get into that. Anything else anyone's been?
Yeah, I got one other.
Yeah, nice, cool, good. Bring it on.
Black Mirror. Mm-hmm. Holy shit, that's a good show, you guys. I'm so in love with this show right now.
It's so weird that
everyone loves it.
Only season 3 is on Netflix, but there's the reason
Christmas special too. Right?
Yeah, the Christmas special. So what I do around this time of year is I kind of watch. That's why I got back into Friends. Did you ever watch the Christmas episodes of Friends? And I watched the Christmas episodes of Community and Fresh Prince.
Did you ever watch a very Murray Christmas?
Yeah, that too. I just did.
Okay. Okay. How was that, by the way?
It's fun. I enjoy it.
I do like Bill Murray. So
yeah, it's all like. Okay, we won't talk about that. I like Black Mirror. It's an anthology series. You don't even have to like really pick characters. You don't have to go episode by episode. You just pick one.
No, I know what it is. Yeah,
and it's
perils of technology.
No, see, that's the thing. That's I think that's how it's mischaracterized by a lot of people. It's not about like the technology is there and it's cool and it's a sci-fi concept and there's a lot of crazy, scary technology in the show. But of what I've seen so far, I've watched 3 episodes. Mm-hmm. The perils it's not the perils of technology. It's like it's all human error.
Right.
It's all about like what's wrong with people on the inside, or like somebody does something wrong. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's not like the technology is fucking us up, and the message is not to like take your. Get
it's in the same way that how Star Trek was trying to speak about some sort of issue.
Yeah, about human issues.
Right, but through aliens. They're using technology as a lens to look at issues.
Yeah, I'm sure that's why it's called Black Mirror, because it's holding up a mirror to society and to a certain degree.
And the Black Mirror is the phone. Your phone screen is a black mirror.
Okay.
Right. That's literally what they're talking about.
So to a certain degree, it is about like how people kind of rely too much on technology or focus too much on technology. But again, the takeaway for me is technology is not the bad guy in the show. It's the people and their choices, and that's all it's ever been in any show, right? Like, so I really like that, and it's like it reminds me a lot of. I don't know if you ever watched The Outer Limits when you were younger.
Yeah.
Outer Limits.
We control we control the vertical and the horizontal.
That is so cool that it's like that. I loved Outer Limits.
Here's the thing. So I've heard really great things about specifically about season 3 on Netflix. My brother watched a couple episodes, and I didn't. I know I'm gonna watch it, but I heard it's also a bit of a downer. That it can be a little depressing to some degree, and that I'm just not in the right mindset to get into that.
I mean, depressing in what way? Like, it's depressing. I can see what you're like. I don't want.
I'm only basing this on what I've heard. It's just I've heard it's a downer.
There's nothing to ruin necessarily, but like in my mind, it's more. It's like Shakespearean, or it's like a Greek tragedy. You know, it's like it's about serendipity, and you know, some characters get their comeuppance, some don't. But it's not depressing in that it's like, you know, humanity is hopeless and pointless. It's not that kind of stuff.
No. I just more like you need to be in a certain mind frame,
I don't know,
state of mind to really get the full, to really fully enjoy it without kind of bringing yourself down. I think is what I've heard.
Maybe I'm just like
maybe you're in the right space.
I guess
now,
yeah.
you know?
I've just been loving it the past couple days.
Okay, Jeremy, anything else?
No, that's it.
Yeah, I haven't. I mentioned how I finished the Star Wars audiobook, but then that's it. I get how I started Tarkin, but that's
it's
basically
an audiobook. You're not even reading it.
Yeah, did you not hear that? Of course.
I thought you were reading books for once.
I really enjoy audiobooks. I just think
audiobooks are cool. I don't know.
I love the radio play style, specifically those of Star Wars that they do.
I feel like, but saying like I've been reading or whatever, like it doesn't.
No, that's why I corrected him at the beginning of the episode.
Okay.
I feel like it's not a.
No.
It's a weird way. It's a weird thing.
Look, there's nothing wrong with the audiobook. I'm just saying it's a different experience when you actually read a book and paint the picture for yourself. No, there's no judgment. I'm just saying that.
The only picture they're painting is the voices.
Audiobook is just like a podcast. People talking to you, and you're just like, it's not the same as reading a book.
Well, no, they are reading the book because they're reading. They're actually reading the book to you.
But guess what? Are you sitting there with your eyes closed listening?
Sometimes.
No, you're doing.
Sometimes
things.
I am.
Yeah, but most of the time,
Jeremy would know.
Most of the time,
okay, interesting. Jeremy knows more.
Most of the times, you're doing things. So it's
you're right. So, but I'm doing mindless activities, like doing the laundry,
doesn't
and
matter.
like my mind is in
doesn't
that
matter.
world.
Doesn't matter. You're still thinking, what do I have to do? Where do I have to move my body next?
But that's not it's a different. That's a whole different.
That's different.
Part of my brain.
No, it's fine. It's a perfectly valid way to take this in. But what I will say about reading versus listening, in terms of that, is
not
like
saying it's not valid.
There's nuances. You're not necessarily missing nuance, but you're not creating your own nuance. When you're reading a book, you are deliberately paying attention to every word. You have to.
You're thinking about different things and whatever, but when you're
like, here's the
doing
thing.
tasks, your mind is still...
the same thing can happen when you're reading a book.
No,
you've never read a
Yeah,
paragraph or a page, a whole page, and you're like, I don't even remember what
that can happen, but it's easier for it to happen when you're doing other things.
Yeah.
It just is.
Sure, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you, and I often go back and re-listen to sections that after I felt like I drifted off or like just started thinking about something else. But that happens to me when I'm reading books anyway, so I don't feel like I'm necessarily missing anything by doing it. I feel like I've actually...
I'm just saying it's different. I don't think it's the same.
I've gained... They play music in the background, like Star Wars music and stuff like that stuff. It adds to it.
You also play your own music while you're reading the book, because...
Sure, but they've like we've talked about, they've picked the music that they think fits in a way, and you know, I've never been like, ooh, I wouldn't put this here.
You can make your own
playlist, again, that's them telling you the story rather than you creating the story.
Well, you have music putting... Okay, but what are we going to be like, okay, well, based on what I don't know is coming next, I'm going to put this music on.
No, you just put on Star Wars music. It's not hard. There's playlists everywhere. And if the song feels like it's action orientated, then skip the song to the next one. You know what I mean?
I get that. Is that all that work's been done for me, and I appreciate that. It's the production quality is so good that it's like I'm getting the story plus additional elements.
Different voices? See, that's for me. I've listened to a couple audiobooks, and that's always what takes it. Like, it takes me out when I don't like.
Well, it's important
that they switch and
so
all that.
To some degree, it's important because you have one person reading and multiple characters.
Well,
and
you need to distinguish between
right, because otherwise you would be like, okay, which person is talking right now?
Of course.
So it is important, I think, to do that. Some readers don't do it. Like they're like, blah 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 she said, or like, because it'll be just verbatim from the page, right? And it often is, but they add by adding the voices, and like for the Tarkin one I just started is a British guy reading it, which is important because it's, you know, Tarkin's got that very distinct British accent, right? I think that's good. And then like, so when he's doing the voices of like a stormtrooper, you know, he'll put on an American accent or whatever to differentiate. And then like if they do a stormtrooper, it sounds like it's coming through a microphone, like it does when a stormtrooper's talking.
Mask, yeah.
Right. So like all that stuff is thought of, right? Like you hear like little, there's a battle going on inside, you hear like distant explosions, and like I feel it's an enhanced experience. And I also find that reading's very exhausting, and I always fall asleep.
Like exhausting, that's crazy.
I just fall asleep.
Well,
when
I
reading
think that's
books.
pretty common. A lot of people have that. A lot of people read books to go to bed. I don't know. Again, the audiobook, like, it actually takes me out of the experience, right?
Well, and like they're not for you.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
that's fine.
and I just think it's just
What else
different.
is it doing?
I don't know. Once again, thank you for listening, and subscribe to our Tower of Babel podcast at our website, towerofbabelpodcast.com or towerofbabel.ca/subscribe. And we hope to see you over there.